Welcome everyone, as we learn Chok Yisrael for Parshas Naso, Yom Chamishi, day 5, Be'ezras Hashem Yisbarach. Ufkudei Mishpachos B'nei Merari, and the count of the family of B'nei Merari, the Mishpachosim, according to their families of Esavoisam, according to their fathers' households. Uminyonei Zarayas B'nei Merari LeZaryasan LeBeisavohasan, Miben Shloshim Shana V'malav Ad Ben Chamishim Shana, from 30 to 50 years old. Kol Abol Tzava, everyone that came to congregate LaAvodah, to do service, Ba'oyel Moed, in the Mishkan. Mibar Klos and Shninu Leila, Bad Bar Cham Shishnin, Kol Dasi Lechela Lefulchana B'mashkan Zimna, and their census according to their families was Shloishes Alofim U'Mosayim, 3,200. V'havom and Yonean Lezariyasan Tlasa Alfin U'Mosan. Eila Pekudei Mishpachos B'nei Merari. This is the count of the families of the children of Merari, Asher Pakad Moshe Ba'aron, which Moshe now counted Al Pi Hashem, according to the instructions of Hashem, B'yad Moshe. Ilan min Yonei Zarayas B'nei Merari, Dimina Moshe Ba'aron Al Memra Dadinoi B'yadad Moshe. Kol HaPekudim, the entire census, Asher Pakad Moshe Ba'aron, that Moshe and Aaron counted together in Nesiah Yisrael with the other princes of Yisrael, as Halavim, the entire families of the Levium, Lemishpachosim, according to their families, or Leveisavosim, according to their father's house. Now, if you remember Manoach, when he saw the Malach Hashem go up in the flame of fire, he got scared that they would die because they saw Malach Hashem. V'taimeloi Ishtay, and his wife assured him, Lu chafetz Hashem la'miseinu, if Hashem wanted to kill us, he wouldn't have accepted our burnt offering and our meal offering. And also, he wouldn't have shown us this, the Malach arriving twice and going up a flame in a fire. And at this time, why would he tell us that we'd have a child and we should keep him as a Nazir Hashem, mibeten, if he wanted us to die? And the woman indeed had a child, Shimshon, and she called him Shimshon. Vayigdal Hanar, and the child grew up, Vayivaracheu Hashem, and he was blessed by Hashem. Vatachel Ruach Hashem lefamoi, and the spirit of Hashem rested on him from time to time. Rashi says lefamoi means from time to time, b'machane Dan, the camp of Dan, Bein Sarah ubein Eshtaol, between Sarah and Eshtaol. Vayered Shimshon Timnasa. Shimshon went down to Timnah. Vayar Isha b'Timnasa, and he saw a woman in Timnasa Mibnais Pelishtim. She was a Philistine girl from the daughters of the Philistines. Vayal vayaged lava levimai. He came up to his father and his mother. Vayayim Isha Reisi b'Timnasa. I found a woman in Timnah Mibnais Pelishtim. Va'ata, now Khu Aisali Isha. Now Khu means Kicha, is a lashon of kedushin. So therefore the Mefarshim say, be megayah her, that I could be mekadosh her legally as a wife, as a Jewess. And now we continue in the Ksuvim with the words of Eishes Chayil, and it says that the Eishes Chayil, the woman of valor, Marvadim Osasalah, she prepares for herself beautiful bedspreads, because remember, one of the acts of intimacy that a wife does for her husband is to set a nice bed. And even if she brings in 100 slaves, this is something that she still has to do. So therefore, in order to increase the enjoyment of the intimacy, she provides beautiful bedspreads. And Sheish Varagam Levusha, she dresses herself in linens and fine purple wool. Noda Basharim Bala, her husband is known in the gates, the Rishonim say, because she prepares for him fine clothing. Her husband stands out in the gates, when he sits with the rest of the elders of the land. Sadin Asasav Atimker, she makes cloaks and sells them. Vachagar Nosna Leklani, and quality belts she provides for the merchant. But even more importantly, Oiz Vahadar Levusha, might and majesty, she dresses it herself. Now this means it's talking about the true levush of a person. Her midos are with might, right? Ezo Gibar Hakovish is Yitzray, and splendor. Vatischak liyayim achra, and therefore she laps and is happy about the last day. When she leaves this world, she knows that she's prepared for herself a good Gan Eden, and therefore she joyfully meets her future reward. Also, she prepared for herself a good name, Rashi tells us, and therefore she's happy when she's nifter of a Shem Tov, because we know that the Keser Shem Tov Oila al Gabeim. Pia Pascha b'chachma, her mouth always opens with wisdom. She thinks before she says something, and therefore when she opens her mouth, it's with wisdom. B'sayras chesed al l'shayna, and the Torah of kindness is upon her lips. Remember, it says, u'l'shayn chachamim marpeh, the tongue of the wise heals. When it says a Torah of kindness, it doesn't mean that she knows how to do a Chinese auction. She knows how to speak kindly to her family, to say kind words, to say compliments. She knows how to say words of encouragement. She knows how to speak gently. That's all Torah's chesed. And now our adventure today is the famous Perek of Kol HaBasar in Masechtas Chulin, as today we learn on the 5th day from Seder Kochim. So Kol HaBasar asal l'vashel b'cholav, all meat is forbidden to cook with milk, chutz m'b'sar dagim, except for fish, v'chagavim, and kosher types of locusts. V'asal ha'loisem egvina al ha'shulchan, you can't bring it together to the table with cheese in order that to safeguard that you won't come to eat them together. Chutz m'b'sar dagim v'chagavim, besides fish and poultry, which is okay together with cheese. Ha'noider min ha'basar, one who vows not to eat meat, mutter b'sar dagim v'chagavim, he's permitted to have fish and the kosher grasshoppers. Poultry, which we'll see is not awesome midoraisa, you're allowed to bring together with cheese on the table, but you shouldn't eat them together. This is an incident, as we'll see, where Beis Hillel is machmer. You can't even bring the poultry together with the cheese. This is from the leniencies of Beis Shammai. Now, when we say that according to Beis Hillel you can't bring it to the table together, or by meat that you can't bring it to the table together according to everybody, be'ezeh shulchan amru, b'shulchan she'oichel alav, at the table where they eat, because then you might come to eat them together. Aval b'shulchan she'sayder alav is atafshel, but the table that's, the island in the kitchen where they prepare the food and they don't eat the food together, nice and zebetzad, according to everybody you could have one next to the other, and you don't have to be concerned. You could keep meat and cheese in the same wrapping, as long as they don't touch one another. Two guests in an inn that don't know each other can eat at the same table. One fleischiks and one cheese, one milchiks. We're not worried, because since they don't know each other, they're not going to share their food with each other. If a drop of milk falls on a boiling piece of meat in a pot, and the piece of meat is sticking out, if the milk was enough that it's less than a 60th of the piece of meat, so it's going to penetrate into the piece of meat, since it's hot, it's boiling, aser, then it becomes aser. However, if right away near as a kedera, right away before it gets a chance to absorb, he mixes the pots, so now that drop of milk was mixed into the whole pot, it's only if it was so much milk that the contents of the entire pot is not 60 times as much, it's aser, but if not, it's batal b'shishim, it's nullified 60-1. Hakichal, the udder of an animal which is full of milk inside. So before cooking it, the proper process is kaira. You're supposed to tear it lengthwise and widthwise, which is called shesi ve'erev, or moitzi es chalvai, and purge the milk before you cook it. Laikra, but if you didn't tear it, ain't over love. You're not over, even though the milk is inside, because it's not usher until it goes out la'avir ha'olam. The same thing halev, a heart which is full of blood, kaira, you should tear it open widthwise and lengthwise, and moitzi es damai, and purge its blood. But laikra, if you didn't tear it open, ain't over love. You're not over again, because it was meat that blood that didn't come out. If you bring poultry with cheese to the table, which means that since with poultry and cheese, you're never going to be over loisase, because the Tana of this Mishnah holds that it says di a goat, but not poultry. So therefore, since you're not going to be over a deraisa anyway, there's no problem of bringing them to the table together. B'sar behemoth Torah, b'chalei behemoth Torah, the meat of a domesticated animal with the milk of a domesticated animal, also levashel, also b'ana. It's forbidden with three things. You're not allowed to, of course, eat it. You're not allowed to cook it even, and it's even forbidden to benefit from it. But the meat of a behemoth Torah with the milk of a behemoth Tameya, let's say with the milk of a camel, or Basar behemoth Tameya, the meat of a horse, Bachalei behemoth Torah with the milk of a cow. So here, the Isser of Bishul does not apply, and the Isser of Hana does not apply. Mutter levashel or mutter b'hana. Rabbi Kiva says, interesting, Chaya v'oif einon min ha-Torah. Both a beast and a bird, even a kosher chaya, like deer, like venison, and poultry, there's no ism in ha-Torah. It says you shouldn't cook a goat in its mother's milk, and it says it three times. It says in the Torah, three times. Prat lachaya, so one of them comes to exclude a domestic, a beast, even though it's kosher, like a deer. Ula aif, and one comes to exclude poultry. Ula behema tamei, and one comes to exclude a non-kosher animal, like a camel. Rabbi Yosef Glili disagrees. He says, Nema lo seichlu kol nevela. It says you shouldn't eat any nevela, anything that's not shechted properly. And it says you shouldn't cook a goat in its mother's meat. As nevela, that which is forbidden with nevela, which includes a chaya, like a deer, also levashel b'cholav. I might think also to include oaf. Oaf sha'asim mishum nevela, oaf that's also also if it's not shechted correctly, yachol yeh also levashel b'cholav. Talmud Leimer, it says b'chalei v'ima, in its mother's milk. Only a species that has mother's milk. Yatsa oif, this excludes the bird. She'ein like chalei v'ima, it doesn't have mother's milk. Kevas nachri v'shal nevela. This is nachri v'shal nevela is one and the same. It means the more of a guy, which is nevela because the guy doesn't do shchita, harizu asura. It's forbidden, and that means the milk that's congealed and hardens in the more of the keva of a guy is asur. Hamamid ba'or shel keva keshera. If one curdles milk to make cheese, this is the process that you would put it into the more of a kosher animal, and the milk would curdle and become cheese. So amamid ba'or shel keva keshera, im yesh b'noisin tam, if there is enough to give a taste from the more, because the milk is not 60 times as much, harizu asura. Kshera shiyonka min atrefa. In the event that a kosher animal nursed from the milk of a treifa animal, and then you shechted the kosher animal, kevasa asura. The milk in that keva is asur. Why? Because that milk came from the nursing of a treifa animal. On the other hand, the other way is okay. Treifa shiyanka min akshera, a treifa animal that nursed from a kosher animal, then the milk in the keva, kevasim muteris, the milk in the keva is mutter, even though that animal was a treifa, mipnei shekonis b'mei eha, because the milk is stored independently in the keva, which came from nursing a kosher animal, and that milk doesn't mix with the other bodily fluids of the treifa, and therefore that milk is permitted. The Mishnah tells us, Chaymer b'chelev mibedam, the Chaymer b'dam mibechelev. There's a chumrah of chelev, the fat of a domesticated animal, over blood. The chaymer b'dam mi'b'chelev, and there's a chumrah of dam over chelev. Chaymer b'chelev, there's a chumrah of chelev. Sha'chelev moyelin bay. There's an ismila. If the animals kachim, even kachim kalim, the emurim, the fats like the lobe of the liver and the chelev on top of the kidneys. So the emurim, there is meila, the sacrificial portions, there's meila. So therefore, sha'chelev moyelin bay, and of course by kachim. V'chayavin olav mishum pigel v'naisa v'tamei. And if you eat the chelev from an animal that's pigel, is an animal, a carbon that the kohen did one of the avodas hadam, like shchita, kabbalah, halacha, or zrika, with a machshava to eat it after it's allowed time or to smoke it up after it's allowed time. So that animal becomes pigel, which is an isakaris, and the pigel applies to the chelev. There's a din of noiser that if you eat it after its permitted shelf life, like a shlomim has a shelf life of 2 nights and 1 day, 2 days and 1 night, 2 days and 1 night, and you eat it after that permitted shelf life, it's an isakaris of noiser, and is an isakaris b'tamei to eat it b'tumas aguf. All of these laws apply to chelev, ma'ashen kein badam. It does not apply to dam, because the pasuk says, al mizbeach lechaper, and that means lekapar nesativ. I gave it to you for kapara, and I didn't give it to you to be moil in it. And there is no pigel, because pigel is only with something that is permitted, while the dam itself is the matter. There's no pigel by the matter, because the dam is the matter, because when you zorek the dam, it becomes permitted. And there is no isser of noiser and tamei, because it says hu and lochem. One is, it says by dam hu and lochem tu miyutim, one to be memayet dam from noiser, and one to be memayet dam from tama. The chaymer b'dam, ma'ashe'enkein, is a chaymer by blood. Sh'adam noig b'beim b'chayvayv. The isser of blood is noig by an animal, a beast, a bird, bein t'mein, bein time, whether they're non-kosher or kosher. While the chaylev, the isser of fat, ain't a noig ela b'behema toira b'vad. It's only by a kosher, domesticated animal, not even by a kosher chaya like a deer. And now we continue with the Gemara from Chulin Daf Kuf Hey. Amar Rav Chisda, Achal Basar, if you ate meat, also lechal gvina, you're not allowed to eat cheese, right? If you're fleshless, you're not allowed to eat milchiks. Gvina, if you had cheese, muta lechal basar, you're allowed to eat meat afterwards. Elakama yisha ben gvina lebasar, how long do you have to wait from eating cheese until you eat meat? Amalei v'loi klam, you don't have to wait at all. Gufa, Amar Rav Chisda, Achal Basar, if you ate meat, Asa Lechel Gvina. You can't eat cheese. Gvina, if you ate cheese, Muta Lechel Basar, you're allowed to eat meat. Amalei Rabaka Bar Yosef Rav Chisda, Basar Sheben Hashinayim Ma. What if you have meat stuck between your teeth? Does that still have a din of meat? Kari Alei, Habasar Oidenu Ben Shineim. The meat was still between their teeth. So we see that even if it's between the teeth, it's still considered meat. I, in this matter, chola bar chamra is considered vinegar compared to wine, legabe abba. In other words, I'm much less than my father. I'm like an inferior vinegar to my father, who was like fine wine. The ilu abba, my father ki have ochel bisru, and he ate flesh. So idna today, lave ochel gvina, he didn't eat milchiks, cheese. Ad lamachar ad ash, he waited 24 hours. I don't eat by this meal, but by the next meal, akilna. By the next meal, no, it's 6 hours later, I eat. Amashmur, once we're talking about the comparison of ourselves to our parents, I in this matter, I'm like vinegar compared to my wine to my father. The ilu abba, my father, he would check his property twice a day. Check to see if there's anything going wrong. Check to see if the workers are being honest. He would check his property twice a day. And I only check it once a day. Shmuel Tameh. Shmuel goes according to his reasoning. Dama Shmuel, man desire nichse kol yoima. If somebody checks his estate every day, mashkich istira. He will gain a half a zuz. In other words, he'll see that he will gain money by being careful to check his property. Abaya would check his property every day. Yumachad, one day, Pagabarise, he caught his sharecropper, the dore pischa de ufe, that he was trying to sneak out a bundle of twigs, which is valuable for fuel. Amalei, so he said to him, Hani lehecha, where are you taking these? Amalei leveimar, I was taking it to the master. Now, he knew, he didn't ask him to bring home twigs. He knew he was just trying to cover up. Amalei kfar kedamuch rabbanan. The rabbanan already preceded you, and they said, and they recommended that I check my property. Please bring it back to the field. Rav Asi kol yuma. Rav Asi would check his estate every day, and he didn't find anything wrong. So Amar, he would say to himself, Hey chaninu kol hani astira de Mashmul. Mashmul says you gain a half a zuz every day. Where are all those half a zuzes that I'm supposed to collect? Yom Echad, one day, he saw a pipe burst on his land, which threatened to mamish overrun his whole land and ruin all of his crops. Chok quickly took his cloak, he wrapped it, and stuck it in and plugged the hole. Rama Kali called for help. Asa Inche people came, and they repaired the pipe. Amar, he said, I found all of the half zuzes of Mar Shmuel. I found all of the half zuzes that Mar Shmuel said I'm going to gain when I check my field. Well, they all added up over here, and I found them all. And now we start the Zoyar of this 5th day of Naso. Tana Amrab Yaisi. B'shata de kahana praise yadai. At the time that the Kahanim spread out their hands to duchen, it's forbidden for the people to look at the Kahanim when they're spreading their fingers, mishum the shchinta sharya biyadai, because the shchina hovers over their hands. So the question is that Rabbi Yitzchak asked, a very interesting question in the Zohar. Since we can't see the shchina, then why is it a problem for us to look? Amr Yitzchak, since we can't see the Shechina, then what does it make a difference? Now the simple meaning is that no man can see me and live, but the Zohar interprets this to mean that during our lifetime we can't see the Shechina. We don't see the Shechina in our life. After a person dies, if they're worthy, they could see the Shechina. It says, but since we can't see them, what's the problem? Amalei, so the Zohar answers, Mishum deshma kadisha remiza be'etzba on the because the holy name of Hashem is hinted to by the parted fingers of the Kohen. And even though we can't see the Shechina, but it's showing a lack of respect to gaze at it anyway. People should exhibit fear. Even though they can't see the Shechina, they shouldn't be gazing at the hands of the Kohen. You shouldn't show such a brazenness to look right towards the Shechina, but rather avert your gaze. Some people cover their eyes with a talis. Tana bahi shata the kahana praise yadai. At the moment when the kahanim are spreading their hands, tzrichen amol lemeisa b'tchilu be'imsa. It's interesting. They used to sit. We stand, but the people need to sit with fear and with awe. Velinda, and they should know that he shaito eden ruusa ishtakach b'chulun olmen. At this time, there's a time of goodwill in the whole world. Umisbarchen iloin v'satan, and the upper realm and the lower realm is blessed. V'les dina b'kulu. This is not a time of strict judgment. V'ushaita de iskalei stima atika da atikin. This is a time where the sealed light of the ancients, that's the Arshal shel sheishes yimei bereishis, the Aragonas we call it, hidden light, is joined b'ze'er anpin with the smaller light of below, v'ishtakach shloma b'chayla, and there's peace in everywhere. Amar Reb Shimon, b'hani tlas kroi, the three verses of Birchas Kohanim all start with a yud. Yivarecha Hashem v'yishmerecha, Yor Hashem panav elecha v'yichonecha, Yisa Hashem panav elecha v'yaseim l'cha shalom. They all start with a yud. So Amar Rabbi Shimon, b'hani tlas kroi, reishehain, their start yud 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 with three yuds. Yivarecha, Yoer, and Yisa. Kulu la'achza'ah mehem nusa shleima. The Zohar says all of them come to show complete faith in the one above. As we said, it's a time when the lower light is blessed to be synthesized with the light of the Aragonas. Hashem blesses from above, which causes protection below. Kulu, and so also with the rest of the verse of each one, there comes great blessings. The Tana came to Rabbi Shimon, and a Tana then taught before Rabbi Shimon by Yochai, if somebody was distressed by a bad dream, this is what we do. Let him come at the time when the Kahanim are spreading their hands. V'leima, and say the tefillah, Rebbeinu Shalom, Ani Shalach Chaim Yoz, V'chalom Shalach, Chalam V'chalamti V'eni Yodeh Mahu, etc. Amai, why? Mishum dehi ahi shaita ishtechachu rachmei ba'omen kula. This is a time of great mercy when the Kahanim are spreading their hands and saying the bracha. And one who prays his prayer of his distress is he will have the strict judgment which might be portrayed by the dream converted into mercy. And now we learn the Musar also coming from Sefer Chasidim. Al yavar adam es boirai, a person al yavad adam es boirai, a person should not serve his creator Laman Yirish Gan Eden. Like we said, a person shouldn't be serving Almanas L'Kabel Pras. So he shouldn't serve his creator in order to inherit paradise. Ela me'avas Hashem, he should serve out of love of Hashem, u'mitzvaysav, and to do his commandments, shehu yotzei, since he is his creator, v'oyavoi, and he loves him. I heard from Rav Moshe who said, halavai, nowadays we would serve Hashem with the full belief that we're getting reward. When a person is alone, and when a person is alone, and he thinks about things that are improper, he fantasizes. If he would be before people, he wouldn't do this because of shame. He shouldn't do it now either. He has to know that the Rabbeinu Shalom is Beichen Kloyos V'Leiv. He searches his kidneys and his heart. He knows the secrets of everyone. That's the way of the wicked. To do in darkness their deeds. Because they say, Mi ro'einu, who's going to see us? And Mi odeinu, who knows about it? When the Talmidim asked Reb Shimon bar Yochai before his death to bless them, he said, let the fear of Hashem be like the fear of humans. And they asked him, is that it? And he said, halavai, that you should feel, shivisi Hashem l'negdi summit, and halavai, you should feel a visceral fear of Hashem as if Hashem is right before you. And finally, we learned halacha from the Rambam, again in Hilchos Tefillah. We all know that there's a mitzvah to say 100 brachas every day, and it's a very big deal. David HaMelech, they told him that there were 100 casualties a day at battle. So David HaMelech was masakin. It says, No'um HaGeber Hukam Ol is B'gematria 100. He was masakin 100 brachas, and the people stopped dying. That's why Moedim is B'gematria 100. That's what the Zakein Balik Tosfos tells us. Moedim is 100. It's a big deal to say 100 brachas every day. So it says the Rambam, Chayiv Adam Levorech Meya Brachas Bein HaYom VaLayla, between the day and the night. U'mahein Meya Brachas Elu, and now the Rambam is going to itemize the 100 brachas. Esrim V'sholosh Brachas Shemaninu B'Perek Zeh, 23 of the brachas that we counted. Now let me tell you what these 23 are. There's 15 brachas of Birchas HaShachar, from Shalei Asani Goita Mavishena, so that's 15. There's 3 Birchas HaTorah, that's 18. Al Netilas Yadayim Asher Yotzer and Alakai Neshama is 21, and Baruch She'amar and Yishtabach is 2 more, that's 23. Now notice we didn't count tzitzis and tefillin yet, so we have 23. So that's what he says. Elu Esem V'shalosh Brachos Shemaninu B'Perek Zeh. And then v'sheva bracha shel kriyishma shel shachris v'harvis l'fanei l'achreya. He's not counting Baruch Hashem lo'elam amen v'amen, but without Baruch Hashem lo'elam amen v'amen, you have 3 in the morning and you have 4 in the night. So that's 7 brachas before kriyishma and after kriyishma and the day and the night. So that's 7 plus 23 is 30. And then he says, you have the bracha of the tzitzis, bracha atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kishanu mitzvos v'tzivanu l'satef b'tzitzis, the bracha on the talis gadol, that's 31. And then he counts only 1 bracha of tefillin, the kishlovish tefillin, bracha atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kishanu mitzvos v'tzivanu l'niach tefillin, that's 32. V'sholosh tefillah shebechol tefillah, and then you have, he only counts now 18. He doesn't count the lam al shinam. So that's 18 times 3 is 54, right? So v'shalosh tefillas shebechol tefillah mehen shmona esrei brachas. So that's 54 plus 32. 54 plus 32 is 86. Harei shmona v'sheish brachas. Then he says you're going to wash twice. Now listen to what he does. He's not counting atoy v'ameitiv, but he is counting that a person benches ala kais and is going to make an ala gefen. So that's an al netilas yadayim hamoitzi, 3 brachas in benching, and gefen and ala gefen afterwards is 7. So he says when he eats 2 meals, 1 in the night and 1 in the morning. So that's a total mevarach arba esrei brachas. It's a total of 14 more brachas. Sheva b'chol suda, 7 by each meal. Achas kishiyitel yod v'tchila al netilas yadayim. V'alamozan achas b'tchila, and then ha'moitzi. Then sholish b'soif. He's not counting atay v'ameitiv. So 3 brachas. That's 5. Alayayin l'fanav l'achrav, and the bracha of the wine that accompanies the benching, the b'ay pragafim and the alagefen are sheva brachas. So that's 7 times 2 is 14. 2 meals. So 14 plus 86 is 100. Now, then he says, today we add more, because Bizman Hazeh, shetiknu birchas hapikosim betfila, that we have alam al shinim in Shemona Esrei, that adds another 3. Voisifu atoy v'ameitiv bebirchas hamazim, so there's 2 more brachas. So each benching, 2 times eating, that's 2 more. So that's another 5. Nimtzu chamesh brachas yiseris. There's added another 5. Now, I want to point out over here that nowadays we also make the bracha of Baruch Hashem Lo'elam Amen V'Amen. That's another 1. And nowadays we also make a second bracha on the tefillin of Al Mitzvah's tefillin. That's another 2. And nowadays many people make a bracha on their talis cotton. So that's another 3. Notice also that the Rambam doesn't count Asher Yotzes throughout the day. Where the Kels Yaakov says the average person makes an Asher Yotzeh every 3 hours. We get older, we do it even more often, right? So that's another 4 or 5 brachas. And this is without any nashing whatsoever during the day. Not even going to the refrigerator and taking a drink. So, but anyway, he says, Nimshu Chamesh brachas Yisevs. Oh, but now comes the challenge. B'Shabbos v'Yomim Tovim, on Shabbos and Yom Tov, she'atfila sheva brachas, that the tefillah is 7 brachas, and there's 4 Shemona Esreis because there's Musaf, but that's 4 times 7 is 28. Instead of giving us a total, as we said, of with Lam al Shinim of 57 every day, it's only 28. That's a big loss of brachas, If you remember, we pointed out that the Rambam holds that you don't make brachas if you don't wear a belt, you don't make Oiz Yisrael B'Gvura. If you went to sleep with your clothes, if you went to sleep with your clothes, then you make a malbish arumim. So therefore, then you would be missing all of these brachas. If you didn't sleep the whole night, you wouldn't make hanoisin le'yavkayach and amavashena v'lohit chagura. If you went to sleep with your belt, so you wouldn't make oiz yisrael b'gvura v'lo nichnus beisakisa. If you didn't go to your bathroom, then sarach lahash l'meya brachas min haperis. Then you would have to make up the 100 brachas from fruit. What does he mean? Keitzad. First you take a celery stick and you make a bar priadam and then a bar nefashis. Then you go and have an apple, you make an eitz and a bar nefashis. And you're responsible to count the brachas until you complete 100 every day. And we pointed out that on Yom Kippur it's very difficult to arrive at this. And I heard from Ramosha that although you can't get to 100, there is an Indian to smell besamim and make a bracha on the baraminei besamim to get as close as you can to the tabulation of 100 brachas. They say over there, Rav Chaim held that women should also try to say Mea brachas, and that's why it was Rav Chaim's opinion that women should daven 3 times a day, because that's obviously the only way that they would be able to say Mea brachas. Although Rav Elyashiv did not say they should, but he said it's a good thing for women to do as well. We want to thank you very much for joining us and wish you a wonderful day.